You know, after about 5 years playing and doing the same thing, it seems like Groundhog Day. Yet again, Friday, noon somewhere in the world. Welcome everybody to the Rant Network. It's your go-to podcast for unfiltered, unapologetic discussions hosted by David Solomon today. And myself, Stuart Briscoe. We tackle a diverse range of topics, candid conversations, bold opinions, whether we're breaking down the latest headlines or exploring pop culture, debating politics, or delving into complexities of modern life. This is a platform for every perspective. So grab a seat, settle in, because this is going to seem a little bit like Groundhog Day. Why do I say that? Because, when I was back in school in the year 1900, we used to talk about what? Politics in the classroom, religion in the classroom. It was normal. We used to have a flag in our classroom. Sometimes we used to have the national anthem. Here in the United States, there has been some radical changes by the unions as of late. As of this month, largest unions, USA. They want to remove the national anthem, the American flag, the Pledge of Allegiance from classrooms in America. The left would have you believe that the right is attacking education. The left would have you believe that it's the end of democracy. And the left would have you know that the conservatives are taking over Gen Z. Well, Trump came into power and put federal oversight over the U.S. Department of Ed. It changed its budget and funding priorities from basket weaving to math, science, and English. It decided to start continuing to push school choice and voucher system to decouple unions and agenda-based regions and allow people to pick and choose where their kids and how their kids get educated, to try and now curtail the international student rights and the civil rights that they think should exist from 7th century, Middle East to the actual school grounds. It's supposed to empower state and local authorities. The United States is a republic. It's unique. There are states, and every state decides what rules and how it wants to govern its citizens. The government is elected by its members, right? The people that live there. But the federal government wants to take over education and wants to plan education to be my way or the highway. And Donald Trump sort of ended that for the most part, to return it back to the republic standard of which this country was created. But the left is freaking out. So they are now going down yet another road by having the unions of these education systems change the curriculum. Where in the world did you elect a union to decide what your kids learn in the classroom? David, you had your kids go to parochial school. I had my kids go to parochial school. The education was bar none, probably better than what the public system offered. But the curriculum was what? Neutral, not left, not right?
Mostly, yeah.
Okay. It taught people about right and wrong, not just what you thought was right and what you thought was wrong. It took a path of education. Your mother was a teacher. My wife is a teacher. And today, listening and watching my wife battle, or the battles that are occurring in her Miami-Dade County school district, are bar none insane. The middle school vice principal, a big staunch union representative, because that's where she came from, removed the national anthem from the morning because it's too much of a distraction for the students. You know, I can't make this shit up, David. I just can't. You know, when my wife got a voucher to vote, you want one of these 4 unions or you want none. And normally the teachers that aren't members of the union, they just throw this in the garbage. But not this year. They're all checking the box. We don't want this union or any union any longer. David, this wasn't what we went across in the green room, and I kind of threw something totally off the right side for you. But, you know, we discussed what's bothering me. You know, what's bothering me is the fact that the world doesn't want to acknowledge that bad people exist, bad people do bad things, and placating them isn't a solution.
No, I don't think it's people, Stuart. I think you have a segment of the population that has got a problem. Randy Weingarten is the president of the American Federation of Teachers, and she's screaming and yelling, and she hasn't stopped screaming and yelling, that anybody who's a conservative is the enemy to the state and is enemy to education because they wanted to pull education. Let's go look back at 4 years of Biden. I mean, it's not just removing the national anthem or a flag out of a classroom. It's gender identity. It's giving teachers the power to control the child and not the parent, including the state of California, which has tried to pass these wacky doodle type of options. What these people want to do is to empower teachers to be overlords. That's what it is. They get to decide everything. Now let's be very, very careful here, okay? My mother, you said, taught for many, many, many years. And I'll tell you, from the time she started to the time she ended, she had nothing but criticism for the union. The union took her dues. The union supposedly represented in some sort of collective bargaining agreement. But when a teacher needed help at the union, no. Many of teachers fell by the wayside. The union isn't there to help the teachers. The union is there for an agenda. And what we've seen with the agenda both there and in Canada has been to push progressive policies, even worse, woke policies. Deciding as an entity what should happen in a classroom, it's not up to the union to decide that. They never got that mandate. If you do want the Department of Education, which, by the way, it was built by Jimmy Carter in 1979, and it empowered the teachers to get involved in education, which is not a bad thing. Involved, not control, because control is dangerous. And you see what happens when the unions want to control. They want to tell you that your child at the age of 8 should decide their gender. Like, what are you talking about? Where did this come from? The parents should have no right, Stuart. The parents should have no right to interfere in the classroom. Really? The parents are paying big dollars in their taxes for education and have no right to say a word.
Yep.
Interesting. It's interesting to see that the same union says, oh, if you're the Democrats, you're my friend and you could say whatever you want and you can help us control it. But if you're a Republican, stay out of the classroom. I'm sorry. You're supposed to be apolitical. You're not supposed to teach history with jaded history, but apparently this is what's going on now in the classroom story. And as someone who does teach, and I do teach at McGill University, and I do have to pay my union dues, that has done absolutely nothing for me. I could say what I want in a classroom practically. I can influence minds like you can't imagine. And the union is going to back up. Now, here's the thing which makes me sick. These are also the unions that have called for the eradication of Israel. These are unions that have also called for, let's bring in, drag queens into the classroom to talk about free Palestine. Like, you've created and this is just one of many, many examples of how they want to change the classroom. It's not their call. It's not their place. Education if there is a Department of Education, the Department of Education gets to decide the curriculum in the classroom, not some functionaire sitting there and deciding, you know what, it's a distraction to have the national anthem. Now, do I think we need a national anthem, Stuart? That's a conversation for another day. But understanding the foundation of the United States and how it was created and what it was founded on and whatever, I can tell you if I walk into 3 classrooms, I'll get 3 versions. Because they're not telling you the version that should be taught. They're teaching you the version they want you to be influenced by. And that is what's gone on in classrooms. I'm not dying to talk, Stuart. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm dying to just throw something in there. Do you know what another thing NIA has done? NIA has decided to remove anything specifically about Jews and the Holocaust.
Yes, but Stuart, but it's not just but wait. It goes a step further. This is the same group also who wants to revise education on African Americans. These are the same people that want to rewrite history to teach in the classroom. And this is the problem. This is not about teaching. This is about influencing. It's about changing the minds of students in 20 years from now or 15 years from now when they become voters. This has got nothing to do with education. It's not 1 + 1, Stuart. It's not about, science. It's not about anything more than how can I influence future people to vote the way I want them to vote. And that's what should not be in the classroom. You want to know where you want to learn political science, people? In university, when it's a course taught there. When we teach history, history is not about the bad guys and the good guys. When we talk about World War II, Stuart, are you going to suddenly say, well, Hitler wasn't so bad? Hitler had some good traits. You can't do that. You can't go into a classroom, and I've seen this, by the way. Okay? Tell your parents when they go to vote that they should vote this way. You can't do that. But that's what's gone into the classroom. And that's what Randi Weingarten and her minions all want to do, is they want to control, they want to create agenda, they want to influence future voters. They want to influence. I mean, I'm sorry, and I'll end with this. A friend of mine is one of the heads of one of the local school boards, Stuart, and we were sitting and talking, having lunch a while back, and he said to me, he goes, you know what? I have a problem. I have parents who want certain things done in the classroom, but worse is I have teachers who want certain things done in the classroom. That is just not their mandate. You don't go there. But they think now, based on what they've seen from union leaders like Randi Weingarten and others, that they should do that and they can do that. And no one should take that right away from them. There's no right. Stuart, that's like you going into a job as an auto mechanic and deciding tomorrow, you know what? I'm going to do the bookkeeping. It doesn't work like that, people. You have a job description. You have a policy that's laid down by the government. Follow it. Stop screwing with our children.
David, thank you for jumping in my Mystery Friday start. But I think it's just amazing how we've been doing this thing called the Rant Network for 5 years. And every day when we go to jump on the mic, we look at each other and we talk about this every single day. And the stories change, but the concept of where they're all born from doesn't.
No. It's actually getting worse, Stuart. It's not getting better.
I agree. It has not gotten better.
And you know what, Stuart? I'm going to ask parents the following question. If you're a parent right now of a child in elementary and high school, ask your children what your teacher said about your country, about other religions, about gender, about sexuality. Ask your children. If you haven't had this conversation, it's a problem, but go ask your children, what are you hearing in the classroom? You will be scared, shocked, and mortified by what is permitted in a classroom today.
David, on that note, I'm going to say